When you hear someone mention God, sweet tea, and the SEC, you know they're talking about the American South.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 3 of the American South. I'm here with Colin. What a crazy week in the SEC, man. It's we talked about last week how it seemed like the cream had really rose to the top, that we were finally going to start seeing how things were going to shake out, and we kind of got a little taste of it. And obviously we're going into week 9 where we're going to get a little bit more. So, what were your thoughts on week
Looking
8?
back at last week, LSU really surprised me. We knew that offense would struggle, but losing to Vanderbilt really hurt them. But I was shocked. One of the biggest shocks that I had this week was Texas going and playing Kentucky, only scoring 16 points in overtime. Looking at the stats here, Arch was 12 of 27 with 132 passing yards. He was sacked 4 times and had a QB rating of 25. So bad day for the Texas offense. I believe they had, I can't remember, 180 yards of total offense, something like that. So that really surprised me in that game.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really thought that Texas was going to have an opportunity to right the ship, and riding kind of the high off of beating Oklahoma last week. I was expecting them to use that momentum and build on it, and I really thought that we would potentially see Arch kind of gain his footing a little bit, but just more of the same for them, which really surprised me, and not looking good against what's widely believed to be the worst offense, or worst team in the SEC.
Yeah, no
Sorry.
doubt. Kentucky has a good defense, granted, but their offense still struggled. Just looked up, Texas had 179 yards of offense in this game, which is nothing to be a ranked team in the offense, but they're always saved by their defense, especially this year. Another game that surprised me was the Georgia offense. Going in and playing Ole Miss, like last week, we both picked Ole Miss, and I was shocked that Georgia ran away with it towards the end of the game. Stockton finished with 289 yards in the air and 4 touchdowns. I thought he really surprised me, and I think he should be up there for not in the Heisman race, but definitely in the top 10 to be in the conversation in the Heisman race, heading that Georgia offense.
Yeah, man, almost 300 passing yards, 26 to 31, only 5 incompletions, man.
Yeah.
They definitely got some things turned around right there, and I don't want to take anything away from Ole Miss, but we knew their defense was a weak point. You just thought that their offense was going to be able to keep them in football games, and Trinidad Chambliss against that Georgia defense kind of had a rough day. I mean, he was 19 to 36, so almost 50% on completions. That's a percentage that's really tough when you're playing a team like Georgia at Georgia, to come out with a win in that football game, and then to not score a fourth quarter touchdown. It just doesn't put you in a very good opportunity to win. But yeah, man, my surprises of the week. I thought Missouri's offense against Auburn, and we definitely brought that up as a question. And I honestly thought Auburn was going to win that game, because we had talked about how Missouri hadn't played a true road game yet. And going into Auburn, a tough environment against that really good Auburn defense, we both thought Auburn would have a chance to win the football game, and they did. They just weren't able to pull it off. But, man, we've been really high on Pribula, but the last 2 weeks he's thrown 4 interceptions, and he's kind of given that team, the other team, an opportunities to beat him. Alabama took advantage of those opportunities. Auburn did not this week, but Auburn had a chance to win, and that Missouri offense has got to get it. I mean, they've got to figure something out with Pribula putting the ball in the air.
Missouri's offense the whole season has been to run the ball in the gaps, and that opens up their passing for their passing game, and for Pribula to pass the ball better. But recently they've sort of struggled to run the ball, and that obviously has hurt passing it, and so that could lead to the 4 interceptions in 2 games, forcing the ball down the field and trying to get those completions.
Yeah, man, and a lot of the times too, the quarterback play, it's kind of like a two-way street. Like you can run the ball to open up the pass, but you can also throw the ball and drop the ball in the soft spots in the zones and run that kind of the mesh and all those things in order to open your run game, get those linebackers back on their heels a little bit, and then you can run the ball again. So when you're not able to do that, and then it's going to prevent you from, 91 rushing yards for a team like what you talked about, a team that relies heavily on the run for their offense to be successful. So it is surprising, but I think that I don't think that we're going to that Missouri is going to check. But man, here's the deal: that they're finally starting to play SEC opponents and on the road.
Yeah.
We're going to learn a lot about them. So my second surprise of the week is Alabama's defense against Tennessee. That high-powered Tennessee offense, man. Alabama is shaping up to. They're going to be a team that is very, very hard to beat. They took that Florida State loss at the beginning of the year on the chin, but they hit stride since then, and they are obviously the best team in the SEC. And I believe that the college football is tonight the very first college football playoff rankings.
I'm not too sure on that.
I think it should be tonight that they do the first college football playoff rankings, and hopefully we can break that news on the show tonight. We will be keeping track of that for everybody, but man, still, Alabama is a team that absolutely can win.
Starts in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was like week 8, but or week 7, but I guess I'm wrong. Regardless, Alabama is one of the teams that I think the SEC will have in the college football playoff right now. I don't think there's anybody else in the SEC that can do anything with them. Moving on, man, and not just to be a homer, but that Arkansas offense against Texas A&M, that is something I did not expect to happen. I really, truly believe that A&M was going to have their way with the Razorbacks. And granted, yeah, they were up 10. The score may be a little bit closer than the game actually was, but it was 21-20 at halftime. And then Arkansas comes out or A&M comes out, scores. Arkansas turns the ball over. A&M scores again. That's how they got the 10 points ahead. This game was much closer than we expected it to be. And that Arkansas offense, man, 500 plus yards of offense. Taylor Green throws for over 200 yards, runs for over 100 yards again.
Yeah, he had about 340 yards total and 5 touchdowns, 3 in the air and 2 on the ground. Looking at the total stats for the Arkansas offense, obviously Bobby Petrino has had that offense this is his second year now. But his offense, he's truly offensive minded. And if Arkansas had a better defense, they would be top 8 in the SEC, no question. But Arkansas running the ball, Mike Washington's number 2 in the SEC in total yards, and Taylor Green on the ground's 4th right behind him. And he's 3rd in passing, just 30-something yards behind Joey Aguilar and Ty Simpson. So that Arkansas offense has the spark, and I believe they really showed it against a top 5 team in the nation and basically a top 2 team in the SEC.
Yeah, man. There were a lot of surprises this week from top to bottom, but I think the SEC is starting to – we're starting to see how things are going to shake out. Some teams are definitely showcasing why they deserve to be in the college football playoff, and others were learning a little bit more about them.
I think on that, learning more about teams can go both ways, right? You learn that this team could be a competitor or could be a competitor in the college football playoffs, and this team's maybe not strong. And I thought we saw that with LSU this week. You picked Vandy, I picked LSU. I thought LSU would win. I thought the offense and Nussmeier would turn it around. But I don't believe this LSU offense or this complete LSU team will be able to do anything in the college football playoffs, and I don't think they'll make it this year.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Well, man, with let's move on from surprises of the week. Let's just go ahead and jump into the games. We kind of touched on them a little bit, but we'll start from the top here. We had A&M at Arkansas. A&M wins 45-42. What are some game notes that you have for that?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, Arkansas offense looked really good, looked exceptional. Arkansas defense is still bottom 15 or 16 in the SEC, only getting 2 stops, I believe, 2 or 3 stops in the Texas A&M game. Theoretically, if Arkansas's defense gets 4 or 5 stops a game, Arkansas is going to win every single game. There's no doubt this Arkansas offense is very high powered, and the offensive line truly showed that. And Taylor Green played an exceptional game as well.
Yeah, man. I'm very impressed with the Razorbacks and how they've responded since Sam Pittman got fired. But I don't want to take that away from the fact that A&M, although their defense probably didn't have the day that they wanted to have or that they thought they were going to have, Marcel Reed and that offense did everything that they needed to do to make sure that they won that football game. Like I said, 45-42 is not indicative of what the game actually looked like. I mean, yeah, it was close, but I'd say if you look at the scoreboard, really what you look at is A&M came out and outscored Arkansas 17-7 in the third quarter. That was the difference in the football game. But man, I don't want to think that A&M, like I've heard a lot of people talking about today, is A&M isn't as strong as what everybody thinks they are because of the Arkansas score. But man, that Arkansas offense is good. I don't think that anybody should take anything away from A&M. I think they're a good football team. Obviously, we're going to learn more about that this week, but Marcel Reed and all the weapons he has on offense, and we have to remember too that they were without their starting running back. But
yeah,
dude, I don't think it slowed them down at all.
I think that offense continued to go and continue to push forward in that game.
Well, yeah, man, I'm super impressed with A&M. Everybody keep a watch out on them. I'm not going to put my stamp on them as a team that I think that can win the college football playoff, but I do think that they're going to be one of the teams that represents the SEC in the college football playoff. And if I were an Aggie fan, I'd be tickled with what Mike Elko is doing with that football team.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's jump to LSU and Vanderbilt. We kind of touched on a little bit with you talking about LSU's offense, but what are some other things that you really noticed and that stood out to you in that game?
Yeah, I thought Diego Pavia played extremely well. He's got that Vanderbilt offense and whole team rolling, and I think they could do some damage sneaking into the college football playoffs. Obviously, we'll see how that shapes out this week when they play, but I believe Vanderbilt is a top 12 team in all of college football.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're playing extremely well. One thing that they're doing really well is being able to run the football, and that's taking a lot of pressure off of Pavia to be able to move the ball through the air, man. And they threw the ball 22 times. He's 14 for 22 with 160 yards and a touchdown. Like he's not putting up overwhelming numbers throwing the football, but he was their leading rusher and had 2 touchdowns on an offense that ran for 239 yards against LSU, which is just absolutely insane. But we talked about that Missouri offense and not being able to run the football and that being their identity. If you're LSU, you seriously got to start being concerned about the fact that you cannot run the football, which is making it really hard on Nussmeier doing his job. LSU ran for 100 yards, and Nussmeier still 19 for 28. It's crazy to me. You look at some of these scorecards or the box scores, and you're trying to figure out. It's like I don't understand how this game wasn't how LSU didn't have an opportunity to win that game. But like I said, you go back and you look at the rushing yards. They're putting everything on Nussmeier, man, and he's not able to do it by himself. They're going to have to figure out how to run the ball in the SEC.
Vanderbilt had all those rushing yards. LSU was without their starting linebacker Whit Weeks, I believe. But no, like you said, Vanderbilt did an exceptional job, and like we talked about earlier, good rushing, relieves pressure off passing, good passing, relieves pressure on rushing. Going to the Oklahoma and South Carolina game, not too many surprises there. OU did what they were supposed to do. South Carolina's offense continues to struggle, and they've got to get that figured out fast. Arguably, coming into the year, they had a top 5 quarterback, and I don't know the SEC, maybe all of college football. He was top 5 in Heisman voting coming into the year, and I believe Lenore Sellers has truly struggled this year. But OU did what they were supposed to do, and I was glad to see that for Oklahoma.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a good Oklahoma team, obviously, with the hype that they had at the beginning of the year. But I think you really what you're really highlighting here is the fact that Oklahoma's defense is really good, and South Carolina is just struggling to find ways to move the ball.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma still offensively did not look great. Um, they're still they are still struggling. 24 points against a and 319 yards against, or 26 points rather. You got a safety, obviously, so defensive score. But you look back at this and you think, man, they're just. I think Oklahoma is their time with a number next to their name is running out. I don't think that they're going to be a top 25 football team after the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, Mateer coming off that injury has not been the same Mateer from before the injury, and I believe that's truly hurting the Oklahoma offense. And going to the Ole Miss at Georgia game, touched on it a little earlier. Georgia offense really surprised me, and Ole Miss defense. Lane Kiffin has always had a great offense and struggled defense. As long as you win by 1 point, as long as the offense outscores the team by 1 point, Lane Kiffin's all right. And that defense is truly began to show and could hurt their college football chances, college football playoff chances later in the year. But no, I was surprised with Georgia's offense and kind of wanted to see more from Georgia's defense. But Georgia's defense playing Ole Miss's offense is just two juggernauts going at each other at Georgia on Saturday. And so I thought it was a really good game.
Yeah, man, and one of the things you look at in this game is that Georgia outgained Ole Miss 510 to 351 yards on offense, and you really break it down and you look at, well, where did they get them? Dude, Ole Miss could not run the football, and it seems like a theme that we're talking about from game to game to game. The teams that are not having success running the football are not able to do enough to win the football games. And the big part of all of this, when you look at this game, is Ole Miss not scoring points in the fourth quarter. I mean, they lose by 8. They scored absolutely 0 points in the fourth quarter. They go into the fourth quarter with a touchdown lead, and a 10-point lead, and end up losing that game. That's just a hard pill to swallow. If
you can't go scoreless in the fourth quarter in the SEC.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, moving on to the 3:15 game last Saturday, Mississippi State at Florida. Honestly, that and the Texas Kentucky game was one of the worst games of the day. Going two not very good teams playing against each other. Florida coming away with the win by 2 points, I believe. But that Florida team's all right, and obviously with Billy getting fired on Sunday, we could see a different team or a totally self-imploded team in Florida's next game. I believe they have a bye this week.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me that they did that. That's going to be one of the premier coaching jobs in the country. But man, I think the thing that you look at in that game is, and obviously Mississippi State had to go play in the swamp, but that momentum that Mississippi State had at the first of the year is coming to a screeching halt, and they've still got a gauntlet of football games ahead of them. They play Texas this week. The following week they go to Arkansas. Then they got Georgia, Missouri, and Ole Miss. So the gauntlet of football games that Mississippi State has coming up. And I'm going to go ahead and say this real quick again because we've been touching on this. If you were a Big Ten football team, would not come off of this Florida and Texas game, and everybody, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this too, Ohio State played this Texas football team and won by 7 points, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the beginning of the year.
And Texas is not one of the best SEC teams right now. Probably middle of the pack. But Mississippi State's got to go play them, Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, and Ole Miss. And I can guarantee you that 0 of the remaining games on their schedules are guaranteed wins.
Yeah, Jeff Lebby as Mississippi State's coach didn't get an SEC win last year, and looks like he's got to beat Arkansas at Fayetteville this year, next week, and I don't know if it'll happen. So he could go 2 straight years with no SEC wins, and that just cannot happen in the SEC.
No, and man, obviously Mississippi State, it's been like a whirlwind of a situation with everything that's happened in the past
Yeah.
few years. You hate it for them. I loved Mike Leach being their head coach. I just thought it fit. It really fit, and obviously just a sad situation. I'm sure that they're moved past at this point, but you thought Jeff Lebby was going to be the guy to come in and kind of change things around. And I'm not writing him off yet. Maybe one more year because, dude, they're close. I mean, it's not like they haven't had some games that they were able to win. Obviously playing Tennessee the way they did into overtime. Texas A&M is just a good football team. But, they played Florida well. Florida's got a good defense, and we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
They're gonna continue to get better.
Yeah, we touched on that Texas-Kentucky game a little earlier, just like the running catastrophe of this last weekend. Texas offense had 50 or 60 yards rushing. Now, that is not counting Arch's rushing yards because he got sacked 4 times. He had -1 rushing yards. But then you go to Tennessee, Alabama. I thought that was an extremely well game. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on the Tennessee-Bama game.
Man, I picked Tennessee to win. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than this, and I touched on Alabama's defense. But dude, that's just one of those games in the SEC that really surprises you. And Tennessee, you felt like they did enough offensively moving the football to win the game, but they only put up 20 points, and they only threw 1 interception. So I don't know what the disconnect there was, but you gotta, in games that you outgain the opponent and you don't have a bunch of turnovers, you got to find a way to win. Alabama just go ahead.
Alabama defense played really well. Tennessee's offense is, I think, top 5 in all of college football. And Alabama defense surprised me, holding them to 20 points.
Right. Yeah, and then obviously the Alabama offense and Ty Simpson, dude, they're just rolling. I mean,
yeah, they are rolling.
253 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's figured it out. We saw Ryan Williams, man, kind of get back on board a little bit after last week. I talked about how he wasn't looking like the number 1 receiver in that receiving room, and a lot of it is because he hasn't been physical enough. But dude, I think he's wanting to be that guy again, and he definitely looked like it last week. So,
and there's so many weapons on this Alabama offense where he doesn't have to overload himself and be the guy every single play. But Alabama's offense is looking truly like the number 1 team in the country. Going to the Missouri-Auburn game, we touched on it mostly earlier. Auburn's offense is horrendous. They have to find a way to do better and win football games. And Missouri struggled running ball this past weekend. And so Auburn's got to find a win against Arkansas this coming weekend, or the ship might be over for Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that if they don't win this week, that he'll be relieved of his duties as the head coach of Auburn. I mean, right now, you look at, from an Auburn perspective, you look at Arkansas as one of the worst teams in the SEC, and if you can't get a win there, after what you hired Hugh Freeze to do, you hired him to come in and lead this football team back to where they think they should be, which is having an opportunity to be in the college football playoff every year. And right now they're nowhere near that. And I 100% agree with you that I think that if they don't beat Arkansas this week, it'll be Hugh Freeze's last week as the head coach.
Yeah, going into games this week, got to be a little quick with these. Ole Miss at Oklahoma, line set Oklahoma -4.5. Who you got winning this game?
Man, Oklahoma's defense is really good, but that does not matter. Lane Kiffin will find ways to beat that defense, and he's done it against Georgia. He's done it every year. The question is, whether or not Oklahoma can do enough on offense to win that football game. And I do not think that they can. I've got Ole Miss in this one, and they're going to cover. They'll cover big. And they're not Oklahoma's favored, aren't they?
Yeah, about 4.5. Yeah.
That just blows my mind. I've got Ole
Yeah.
Miss big.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Ole Miss wins by 14 or 17 points easily. Going to the Arkansas and Auburn game at 11:45.
Man, I'm Arkansas is a 2.5 point favorite. Last I checked, I got
Yep,
Arkansas on this one. I don't think that Auburn's off. I think that Auburn's offense is not going to do enough to win them that football game, and that's going to be against a really bad Razorback defense. But the biggest reason is because that Arkansas offense is so high powered. Taylon Green is finding his receivers. Mike Washington is. They're doing enough to keep everything going. They're running the ball well. They can do anything they want to beat you on offense. So I got Arkansas, and I think they win by 10 or more.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Arkansas's offense playing a good Auburn defense, but also Arkansas's defense is playing a bad Auburn offense. And so they kind of mesh really well. And so I believe Arkansas, I'm with you. I think Arkansas will score a lot of points in this game. 2:30, Alabama versus South Carolina.
I got Alabama big, man.
Yeah, line set at 11.5 at this moment, which I think Alabama could easily win by more than that.
Oh yeah, that's dude. That defense. I feel sorry for South Carolina. I really like Shane Beamer, just the energy that he brings, but
Yeah.
Dow Loggins not being there for that offense has just changed everything, and I just don't see it. I just don't see it working out for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Alabama wins badly. Another 2:30 game, Missouri at Vanderbilt. Who you got winning this one?
Man, that's a coin toss there. That's one of those games that could go either way. It really depends on if Missouri can run the football. And I think they're going to find a way to do it. I hate to call an end to the Vanderbilt hype train. It's been a lot of fun. But I think Diego Pavia is going to have to do more through the air because that Missouri defense is good. I got Missouri in that one.
Yeah, I got Vanderbilt. They surprised me last week against LSU, and I think Vanderbilt's offense will continue to roll against that Missouri defense. Going to the 3:15 game, Texas at Mississippi State. Touched on this a little bit earlier. Who you got in this one?
Oh man, dude, this is like it's one of those games where it's two teams that are so similar that it's odd. They both really struggle to move the ball. But man, I don't know why my guts tell me, but my guts just tell me that Mississippi State's going to win this football game.
Really?
Yep.
You think they finally get that first SEC win?
Yeah, I do. I don't know why.
I got Texas's offense improving this week and getting the win for Texas. I think that defense will shut Mississippi State's offense down tremendously, and I believe Texas gets the win here. Texas A&M at LSU, night game at 6:30. The line set at Texas A&M, I think of 2.5.
I'm going A&M, man. They're one of those teams that I have in the playoff. LSU just doesn't. They don't strike me as a team that is ready for this kind of moment, and this is just such a big game, and they've got too many question marks.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got Texas A&M winning big. I saw a stat the other day. I don't know if this is true, but LSU has 83% night games in all of their SEC games in playing in the SEC. That is absurd. If I'm being for real, that is one of the biggest home field advantages, and we're going to get to that here, ranking our three best stadiums in the SEC. But that's too many.
Man, yeah, and there was no one even close to that percentage. Like I think Alabama was like 53%, and that was the closest team to LSU. And LSU was like, 80%, over 80% of their SEC home games are at night. Yeah, I mean, it's like how much are you going to help them out? You know what I'm saying?
No wonder they're winning all these SEC games,
right?
And then crap the bed in the college football playoffs. Last game, I got a feeling. I'd like to make a big bet on this one, on who you're going to go with.
Okay.
6:45, Tennessee at Kentucky. Who you got?
I've got Tennessee, man. Kentucky's
Yeah.
bottom dweller. Tennessee is so good. I hate that they lost to Alabama this past week. I really thought they were going to be a college football playoff team. It's going to be really hard for them to work their way back into that with the schedule that they have left. Not saying they can't do it, but it's going to be a difficult road to the playoff for them.
Yeah, obviously I got Tennessee as well. I don't think there's any shot for Kentucky. Going into the game that we play every week. Oh, the record for our predictions the last 2 weeks. Keeping up, I'm 13-2. Tyler's 11-4. So in the comments, put who you think is going to win these games, and we can grade them in the next week. So the game of this week is, what is your top 3 stadiums in the SEC? Starting from 3, working the way down to 1.
My number 3 is Neyland Stadium. Neyland is a
Really?
very loud place to play. They have a really proud tradition there at Tennessee, and man, it's just the checkered end zone, the orange and white, dude. I'm pretty sure, don't they have like some kind of like yacht club on the Tennessee River there?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, they do, man. And I just think that's one of the coolest traditions in SEC football. So I'm going Neyland, man.
Yeah, and my number 3, I got Death Valley, obviously alluding to that 83 or 86% LSU night games. That's one of the best home field advantages in all of college football at night, and I think that really plays into a factor for LSU's wins.
100%, man. Yeah, and speaking of which, I've got Death Valley as my number 2 place. Man, that is one of the most difficult places to play at night. Obviously, when they play Neck, dude, that cracks me up every time I do that. But
especially with Pat McAfee getting it on College Game Day.
Yes, 100%.
With Kelly out there.
No,
and
yeah,
my number 2,
he was not condoning that at all.
And my number 2, I got Neyland Stadium as well, same as your number 3. Just electric at night. And when they come out with the Smoky Grays, it's unbelievable. That place is rocking. I would love to go to a game there at night. Who you got rounding out the top at number 1?
Man, so my number 1 actually is a place that I have gotten to go, which is Kyle Field. And dude, the 12th man gets rocking. It's a totally different atmosphere of any college football game because of the cadets, and they don't, obviously they don't have typical cheerleaders.
Yeah,
it's so interesting, dude. It's so different, but it's pretty cool. And then like just the actual stadium itself is like super
how it's
neat.
built.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's a very cool place to go watch football.
Yeah, at number 1, I got Bryant-Denny Stadium. Bryant-Denny at night is unbelievable. Dixieland Delight playing, the whole crowd going crazy. I think that's the greatest stadium to play. I'm not saying it's the number 1 home field advantage. I'm just saying it's the greatest stadium in all of college football. So let us know down in the comments who you would rank as your top 3 stadiums in the SEC. Going to the final point, can we see 7 or 6, not doing the joke, SEC coaches fired either this season or at the end of this season and relieved of their duties? Looking back at it, the record is 4 SEC coaches, I believe, granted per Google, back in 2012 was the last time there was 4 SEC coaches relieved of their duties. Obviously, Arkansas and Florida have already fired their head coaches, and the 4 other teams that I have, right? There could be another one. I got South Carolina. They're 3-4 currently, and they play Alabama this week, so easily could go 3-5. And they are really upset with Shane Beamer currently, and he's getting a little feisty as well. The other one's Auburn. If Auburn loses to Arkansas this week, I don't believe Hugh Freeze makes it back on the team playing as the head coach of the Auburn Tigers. They're 3-4. They lose this week, obviously going to 3-5. LSU, Brian Kelly's not a fan of LSU, I don't believe. And LSU is definitely not a fan of Brian Kelly. They're 5-2 right now. They play Texas A&M at home, and I just don't like his chances of being the coach at the end of the year. They could have 4 or 5 losses once they hit that final year. And then Kentucky, I think Stoops has ran his years out. They're 2-4. I believe they'll go 3-9. I believe they got a blowout game. And then they got Louisville, and I don't believe they beat Louisville. And so I believe that could be the other coach that gets fired, making it 6 SEC coaches.
Yeah, I mean, we're not taking into consideration people leaving jobs because, man, I think there's a real possibility, and I know it's being talked about, but I don't think people are taking it extremely serious. There's a real possibility Lane Kiffin goes to
Florida. Yeah.
There really is. And with that, and if that LSU job comes open, dude, there's no telling what can happen. I mean, anybody in the SEC could take that job. I mean, that's a great SEC job, probably one of the best jobs in the SEC. But I agree with you 100%. Auburn and Shane Beamer may not get fired, but he may not want to be at South Carolina anymore either.
Yeah.
His dad was a great at Virginia Tech. That job's open. There could be mutual interest there. We won't find out, obviously, until the end of the year. Obviously, Sam Pittman and Billy Napier are gone. I don't know if LSU fires their coach. His name.
Brian Kelly.
I don't know if they fire Brian Kelly, but he may not be there just simply because he's ready to get out, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't fit in there. He doesn't like the way that LSU does things. You can just tell it, just like what we talked about on the Pat McAfee show. He just doesn't. He doesn't fit into that culture. And then, man, Mark Stoops, he's got to go.
Yeah, I agree.
He tried to leave a couple years to go to A&M. It didn't work out, and ever since then, it has been like a crap.
How long has he been there? 16 years or something like that. I don't know.
It feels like forever.
Yeah. Another name that I didn't say that could be the 7th SEC coach would be Jeff Lebby. He came into an awful situation, granted. Absolutely terrible situation. And you got to give him credit for coming into that situation. But if he doesn't win an SEC game in 2 years, I think he gets the boot. And that could be 7 SEC coaches changing ways. And like you said, Lane Kiffin, if LSU or Florida called Lane Kiffin, I believe there's no question that he's going to whoever calls him.
Right.
Now, he's created a great program out at Ole Miss, but I think he would leave and go to LSU or Florida.
Yeah, I think they have the resources that it takes to win a national championship. Ole Miss is there. He's done a great job at Ole Miss. I just don't think he's going to get exactly where he wants to be to win a national championship.
Yep, I couldn't agree more on that.
But guys, man, thanks for tuning in. Hey, if you could check us out on TikTok, YouTube. We now have a Facebook page. They are all the American South Podcast. If you can follow us on all those, like, subscribe, comment, do all that, we would appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in and for Colin and I with the American South. We really appreciate you guys and hope you have a great night. Look forward to more SEC football.